We, the DRC, will follow very keenly how we observe if there will be compliance with the constitution of this country and the Political Parties Act. And I want to state publicly that the team with the leadership of the two parties sets, they really do their due diligence. And I want to give them a very big hand. And be able to make sure say they cross their T's and they dot their I's. So the DPRC don't get any reason for object to this alliance. Because who is suspicious? To say the truth. We don't get some abortive alliances in this country, where they become for tear with political parties they are part. And because of that stance where they take, we serve as a commission will be stand up against them. And then alliances they will ever come to fruition. But in this case, the team where the leadership sets, they ensure say they do everything possible for them to be compliant with the law. And on behalf of the commission, I want to commend them and commend the two political parties as the alliance from what we don't see and what we read. It is speak to peace, it is speak to unity, and it is speak to national cohesion. And that we as PPRC they look up to. At the moment, we work with the consequence the way that the political parties for ensuring we create the enabling environment for the sister EMB, when the ECSL, for them to be able to do their work effectively in an atmosphere of peace and tranquility. So we commend them and we call on all other political parties for emulate this example. The PPRC want this election to be an issue-based election, devoid of violence and devoid of money costs. We want following respect to people then. Let we give people then the opportunity for them to able to evaluate the political leaders and let them make an informed choice in 2023. So the issue His Excellency the Vice President talked about, I've been already mentioned that to the Secretary Generals of both parties that I'm really impressed. If we had to follow the social media, we have been saying we don't put a ban on the street Alahalade. We did call street rallies. We people they assemble the street and begin create all this stress for members of the public. We will not say this particular election, we're not going to allow that. And coming to this activity, I will observe. I drove from Kenema this morning when Yusuf called me, and say I was supposed to deliver a statement here. I came from Kenema and from the east, I begin to observe. For that in Chelsea, I not see nobody in the street. And indeed, from Musa Komon-Tok on to the point until I got to this roundabout, now I don't see activity there. So I want to commend the two parties and I commend Muna, the ordinary membership of these two parties. I will pray and encourage you now for continuing that trajectory, for them to be of good conduct in the conduct of your activities, and I hope say you will go home peacefully as how we come here peacefully. Thanks for supporting the PPRC and kudos to the two political parties.
All right, that was lawyer Abdullahi Bangura, the chairman for the Political Parties Regulation Commission. Speaking there at the ceremony where the SLPP and the NGC have announced the formation of an alliance. Just quickly, Reverend, let me hear your thoughts on the fact that, according to the chairman of PPRC, the alliance is actually complementing their efforts, what they've been trying to do as a commission, trying to regulate the affairs of political parties, having political parties forming alliances or coalitions, just to further their political agenda. Now, what does this bring to the political landscape?
Well, I'm not sure if that should be the mandate of the PPRC to encourage political parties to form alliances. But I believe if I am in the PPRC, this will be a welcome news to me, because this is minus two people who would be at each other's neck. because they have come together. So we are not expecting that they will be fighting. And I know this is a big concern for the PPRC. They've even gone ahead to encourage political parties to agree on making sure that for these 2023 elections, they avoid the street rallies and rather assemble at particular locations where political party leaders can address their supporters and try to canvass them with what they believe they would do to enhance the development of this country if they are given the opportunity. And so in that light, I think the PPRC has a voice because it is like taking actions that are the desire of what the PPRC wants.
All right. Valora, I'm sure you are there with us. Just before we get into the details of the alliance of the two parties coming together, specifically, what does this alliance bring to the political landscape of Sierra Leone at this point?
Good evening again. That's an interesting
Valora, are you there with
question.
us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, I think it has a sort of mixed perception. Firstly, it does happen. This is not the first time we've had political parties coming together, so it's nothing new or nothing strange. On the other hand, for those supporters of NGC, some of whom we have engaged, there's or some aspects of the voting population. There's this thing of why don't we have a third force? The third force might not necessarily win the presidency, but we want to see a third force that could be the power broker between the APC and the SLPP. So this is. You asked the question about what role PPRC has to play. It's not the role of PPRC to encourage or to foster or create a platform for political parties to form alliances. But however, when parties decide that they want to do that, they can give that supportive role just to ensure that it goes smoothly, and definitely if there is an issue, they'll certainly have to come in as a mediator. So you have these two perceptions about the NGC's alliance with the SLPP.
The next question I would love to ask Valnora is looking at Yumkella's political journey. In 2018, the conversations were around can they make a change in the political landscape at the time, whether he was going to impact because he was just coming in as, in the words of President Bill then, as a political new kid in the block. But we saw in the polls, he was able to get about 6.68% and have about 5 members or so in parliament. And now he has decided, and the party, himself and the party have decided to form this alliance. What would this alliance put forward in the June polls?
Well, I think one thing we have to be clear about, because just as I said, there are a lot of citizens who vote not based on allegiance, either region or ethnicity, or because parents or family members were founders or were members of these political parties. These numbers might not be too significant, but they are significant enough to sway where the election goes, because usually you note that the gap between the winner and the other political parties, I mean, between usually the APC and the SLPP, the margins are usually very small. And it's these sort of independent thinkers who usually help to create that sway. So what you find within the NGC when it was formed, you find a lot of people who have been tired with this APC SLPP thing and just wanted a fresh start, a new change. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have that same percentage going along with the leader and some of their executive members, you will realize, I mean, if even there's a survey done or anything, that some of the members of NGC, the supporters of NGC, some of them would, yes, go to the SLPP, some of them would be in the APC, some of them would go to other political parties, or some of them might just decide, well, my party is gone as far as I think, and I don't think I'll be voting in this election because we've sort of sold out. Because that's the sort of, when you look at the conversation on the various WhatsApp group, you engage a couple of people, it's like a sellout. We wanted an independent force, a third party, and now this alliance means we are sort of swallowed up. As somebody said, it's like going back to base. We'll be swallowed up, and the identity of NGC will be lost. So that sort of 6% or 5%, I don't think they'll be going with that, and that is what they will actually be offering. And if, I mean, it wouldn't, I don't think they'll be going with all of that based on those factors.
Stay there with us. We've been joined in the studio by the Minister of Information and Communications, a member of the SLPP campaign team, should I put it, by the way, for the purpose of this conversation.
By all means, do.
Muhammad Mansouri, good evening, and thank you for going through this order to come and
Thank you
speak
very
to
much.
us.
Well, you know, you mentioned I'm SLPP and I work in President Bio's cabinet. I have made a commitment. In typical talk and do fashion, I had to brave the traffic.
Thank you.
You know, to be here.
Thank
the
you.
program literally just ended.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. I was following. But first off, let's as a way of getting your precursory remark, what does this alliance bring to the table for the SLPP?
So, on a normal day, I will ask, what does this alliance not bring to the table, you know, for Sierra Leone? Alliances or coalitions are not new. You remember in 1960, there was a Lancaster conference in London at which Sierra Leone's independence was negotiated. So we had an alliance, call it a coalition, of various political parties who even after independence retain their individual identities. So anytime we have had a major issue, you know, the country had coalesced around something. We have rallied around a cause, right? Those of us grown up enough, and for much younger people listening to us, part of the ways we ended the 11-year civil war, you know, when we had the discussions in Lumi, you remember that? Yes, again, all of the people came around. We coalesced around ending the war, you know. So this is not new at all. I mean, there was an ill-fated one that could not survive. Recently, remember COP? You know, so efforts have been made at that, you know, but like Andrew kindly described, this is a marriage made in heaven. It will endure. It will survive time because it's very significant. It's very, very important that it's happening today. I'm very pleased and happy to be alive today to witness this history, you know. So, okay.
How did it happen? You just mentioned COP, by the way, which, you know, following Yumkella's political journey, you know, when he came member of the SLPP, I mean, mobilized fellow flag bearers then against the then candidates Bio then, and at the end of the day, I mean, in one of the interviews I had with President Bio then, he clearly told me here that Kande Yumkella was a political new kid in the block at the time, and so so Kande mobilized his fellow flag bearers, but then President Bio emerged as the flag bearer of the SLPP then. We saw again, somebody was telling me this initiative to form the consortium of progressive political parties, COP, was Kande's idea. So he pushed that, he mobilized parties and all of that. And now we've seen COP, well, not existing, so to speak. And now there's this strategic alliance between the NGC and the SLPP. How did it all happen?
Okay, so those who are quite familiar with the journey of these two gentlemen, Brigadier Retired Dr. Julius Madabiu and Dr. Kande Yumkella, can testify to the fact that at various points in their career, they have always put Sierra Leone at the heart and center of everything they do. For Brigadier Bill, you know, as a very young person, he shot to prominence. He was head of state, you know, but he wanted to keep faith with the country. He committed to hand over power, in spite of all the trappings, the paraphernalia of being head of state then. He sacrificed that to put Sierra Leone first, end the war, and he actually laid the foundation for ending the war. He started exploratory talks with Foodie Anchor. After that, he also ensured that he conducted elections, free and fair elections, and handed over as promised to the democratically elected government. So that was, he put his career on hold to ensure that Sierra Leone was put first, because that was the collective aspiration of Sierra Leoneans, to see the war ended and to see democratic governance. With Dr. Kande Kole Yumkella too, you could see he left the UN, he wanted to forage into politics. He left his UN career, early retirement, came home, you know, to put Mama Sierra Leone first. And again, he's given up his own presidential aspirations to support and work with his brother so that they can continue to work and do accelerated delivery of public services for the poor of Sierra Leone. So you see, they have many things that bring them together than those that put them apart. You also see even the mottos of their two political parties, you know, the sobriquets of their two political parties. One says, put Saloon first. The other says, Pauper Saloon go better. Huh? So, you know, it's very simple. Put Saloon first so that Pauper Saloon go better. Pauper Saloon go better, will put Saloon first. You know, so they are not speaking at cross purposes at all. In fact, the two mantras reinforce each other. Right?
What did President Bill see in Yumkella that he had to go after him in the first place and asked him to come and join him? And
no. So Dr. Yumkella symbolized the thing that President Bill loses sleep over at night.
Which is?
It is the peace, stability, and unity of our country. He sees Dr. Kande Yumkella as embodying that as well. He thinks he brings in that will be a step closer to achieving that ultimate objective. At the launch today, very important analogies were made. In 1951, when the SLPP was being formed, it was, you know, done by paramount chiefs, mostly from the south and northern parts of the country and others, right? So the sons of two paramount chiefs today, two founding fathers, okay, were traveling down memory lane and walking the paths of the forefathers. So it's in search of unity, of peace, of national cohesion, so that with a progressive alliance like this, strategic progressive alliance like this, we think we'll be able, more than ever before, to address the key and critical challenges that have bedeviled this country for the past 40 or so years, where people are easy to run to ethnic and tribal cocoons, you know, and all of that. So the president did say, you know, with a mindset like Dr. Yumkella's, right, the alliance, there are still opportunities for other people. The APC jettisons all of the things who oppose all of the time, and they become progressives. They want to join the alliance. Why not? He opened an invitation to all who share the vision, who think like us, you know, who put Sierra Leone at the heart and center of everything else to join the alliance if they so desire.
Reverend, let's look at the political capital of Yumkella joining, forming an alliance with VSLPP at this point. What are the things that he brings at this point?
I would rather want to dwell on why would he have decided to surrender his ambition to become head of state and enter into an alliance that will be giving support to somebody else to run for that office. What I know about political parties and politicians, they don't have friends. It is always the interest. and they will never move away from their interests. That is why you realize some alliances have failed in the past, and some succeeded to some point, and then they failed. You remember in 1996, PDP and Tinubu Bangura, they formed an alliance, and that was to a very large extent successful. And that was when they are going into the runoff elections. And Tinubu Bangura decided to join the SLPP. And he gained something from the SLPP. He was made the Minister of Finance. And some members of his political party got political appointments. So I consider that to have been the interest. In 2007, the PMDC formed an alliance with the APC. And I know it was with the express interest that with that alliance, both parties were going to benefit. And indeed, some members of PMDC were given ministerial positions. However, somewhere in that alliance, I am not aware of what went wrong, but the alliance broke up. So what I would want to know, and it's only Yumkella and NGC that can tell us that, what is their interest in this alliance? This issue of put Salon first for Salon better, that is a scream. There is something that either the party or the man himself would want to gain out of this alliance.
Okay.
We had gone through an elections when it was very clear from the ambition of Yumkella that he was going to carry the day, because he felt he had the clout, he had the following, but the results of that election did not prove that. And now we are going into another election. And there is now data that can guide his planning. He knows now very well that it's not going to be very easy for him to attain that dream when he initially broke away from the SLPP to form the NGC. And he knows achieving that has some distance. So what is it that he wants the NGC and himself to gain from the alliance?
Right.
So these are some of the questions you should be posing to him.
Okay.
So that we forget about the surface information they are giving about law enforcement.
As a matter of fact, there was a document that was signed today. It lists some of those issues.
Just before we get into that,
clearly.
I want us to, as you say that, I want us to go to Kanda Yumkella himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a statement at the ceremony earlier. So let's join Dr. Kande Yumkella as he made a statement there with regards to why he decided to form the alliance with the SLPP.
United we stand, one country. Prince, I'm not saying the hearing at Google and also. Give me the hearing at going to. United we stand, one country. You touch one, power pass. Where we put Salon first. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, President Julius Maada Bio, Your Excellency, Vice President Jules Dejalo, Your Excellency, Madam First Lady Fatima Maada Bio, all protocols observed, distinguished delegates, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with a quotation from the great Nelson Mandela, and it goes as follows, I quote, "Peace is not just the absence of conflict. Peace is the creation of an environment where all can flourish, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, gender, class, caste, or any other social markers of difference. Today we meet here to fulfill such a quotation, to create that environment where we can all achieve our full potential. Today marks a historic day in Sierra Leone as the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party and the National Grand Coalition come together to form the Progressive Alliance. This decision demonstrates our unwavering dedication to placing the interests of our nation first and collaborating to create a brighter and more prosperous future for all our people. The formation of the Progressive Alliance was not made lightly, but rather is the result of deliberations and a shared vision for our nation's future. 10 years ago, I did a dream about a grand alliance of progressives. But God can say that President Bio creates that grand alliance for this country. Now, President Bio said to me, then they come back, like Papa in particular can't change Salon. But not happy. Not happy. He said, I want to talk to you, Party. And I said, hey, Mr. President, I need a boko. He said, go find some of the big man there. So you don't tell what we they talk. You don't tell where people want to know what you they talk. But when two chiefs begin, they do their business. That chiefs the number for no, not to so. So that's what we do. And today at the right day. President Leo, we thank you for your vision, your commitment, patience, and determination that we will make this happen. And you know, say, me na UN posting social media. So I the one begin jump now on social media for begin debates waiting Progressive Alliance mean. I see can the real politics not to so. Lord, who can force?
All right. That was just an excerpt from the statement from Dr. Kande Kole Yumkella, leader of the National Grand Coalition. Valora, you're there with us. Let me ask, you've just listened to the submission of Dr. Yumkella, and he has given reasons why himself and the National Grand Coalition have decided to form that alliance with President Bio and the SLPP. Now, in your estimation, are these things concrete in terms of achievement?
Well, I guess from his perception, he thinks these are issues that can be achieved. And as I've mentioned earlier, and my colleague gave examples, and even Minister Roman gave examples, this is not the first time we're having political parties who are forming alliances either for the elections and subsequently for the formation of a government. And they would give these issues as to why they're doing that, for peace, for national cohesion, for, going back to forefathers, original political party, etc., etc. But I think sometimes you need to weigh what exactly is the interest, because for Honorable Yumkella, he had a political party and he wanted to be the president of Sierra Leone. So whether you think that maybe he thinks that's far-fetched, but forming the alliance would give him a bit more access to power, maybe to influence. I mean, maybe positively could be a reason why he thinks I need to form this alliance. It could also be for the right reasons that, okay, maybe I couldn't be, being in my party would not allow me to be the president I want to be, to share my thoughts. But then if I form an alliance with one of the political parties, I'm thinking might win the elections, probably I might have a better chance with more space, with more influence, with more power to ensure that these ideals that I have, I would still have an opportunity to share. How that would play out, only God knows.
Like you and yourself and Reverend, you've submitted that this is not a a new thing in the political landscape of Sierra Leone. But looking at Dr. Yumkella's journey, I mean, a party that has members of parliament, a party in its first attempt to contest an election, got members of parliament, and all of that. Is it that Dr. Yumkella is still pursuing his dream of becoming the president through the SLPP, having realized that the NGC or any new party would not guarantee him that seat?
Well, without trying to be a soothsayer, like I mentioned, I think he is of the view, based on what we've heard, because only he can tell what the real intent is all about. But based on what we've heard, based on what the conversation shared just a few minutes ago, we might want to safely say, yes, he's still pursuing that. Maybe not for these elections, but maybe moving to subsequent elections. He thinks, I need to get closer. I need to be known. I need to spread that sphere of influence. I need to win hearts and minds. And I can only do that if I form this alliance. Staying alone within my own political party does not give me that sway. I don't have the numbers. I don't have the amount of influence, because I think being in parliament was a very good start for him. He's seen it all the dynamics, everything. And he might think, this is the best way I can get to that level. So you're quite right. It's quite possible that this is one way he thinks I can get closer to the presidency rather than staying within my own political party. Again, these issues are not new. Politicians have their interests. They know the game. They have the book, the unwritten card they play. And it's all about, how do I get to that place I want to be? Sometimes for the good reasons, not necessarily for just selfish interests. Sometimes for the good reasons that if I stay where I am, I can do my best. I was in parliament. I was a minority political party, and it might have been challenging to have the sway and the level of influence that is required because of the limited numbers, because in parliament, it's about the numbers. And so with the alliance, it might give an edge. But again, how that would play out in terms of decision-making or even leading to the elections, how the whole dynamics needs to play is something we're all watching.
Looking at the SLPP and the APC, and looking at how things have panned out after the 2018 elections, do you see the NGC maintaining its identity? Because that is part of the plan. They're not coming in as one. Maintain your identity. The SLPP maintains its identity, but then we have a shared vision, a shared commitment to addressing the critical concerns, the critical issues that Sierra Leoneans are going through. How would that pan out?
Well, when I consider the rate of resignation from the NGC party, senior party members, including the chairman then, I was worried that NGC may not survive. But then the party has been able to reorganize themselves and still stand as a political party. So I will not lose view of that fact to begin to think that this alliance can undermine the identity of the party. And I would still stress that Yumkella and the NGC must have come into this alliance with definite interest of being closer to power. You see, in the political dynamics, you have to be smart. I tried to go it alone. It did not work. And the man I was trying to bring down still seems to be very strong. Why can I not join him? So that in that partnership, I also have the opportunity to project my profile.
Why do you think it's comfortable for him to work with the SLPP? Is it because that's the party that's the party of his birth, should I say? Because he's also tried the APC under the COP initiative, but it did not work. And now we've seen where they've cemented this relationship with the SLPP by appending signatures to a document. Why is it?
Whether he is comfortable, I cannot tell. Because being comfortable is a state of being. You might be giving out.
I mean, politically.
You might be giving out one thing when the reality is actually different. But what I know is he will not go into that alliance just for the purpose, the sole purpose for the SLPP to win the presidency. He must have gone into that alliance because he sees in that alliance an opportunity for the NGC or himself personally be catapulted into a situation that will get him closer to his ambition. You see, politicians, their ambitions don't die. I will draw your attention to the presidential candidate of the C4C for the 2018 elections. He resigned from his political party and tried to come back into the APC. And this was clear. C4C didn't make any impact outside of Kono. And so if my dream is to become head of state, it doesn't matter how much I consolidate the C4C position, I'll never be head of state. So why can't I go back to the APC? So you see, everybody is making their own move.
Realignment.
Exactly. To put them into an advantageous position that brings them closer.
So you think this is a way of realigning?
This is a deliberate move by the NGC and specifically Yumkella.
But the question
to be drawn closer to his dream.
The question I want to ask is almost all of the members there are from the SLPP. Is this a way of homecoming? Is this a way of saying, well, come on, let's go home? Home can get us to where we want to go.
Almost all other political parties besides APC and SLPP are splinters of these two main political parties. So he is being very smart and clever. Otherwise, PMDC would have taken this sort of move long time ago. I don't know if they even attempted it at one point, but it got sour and so did not progress. You know, it's all about what can I do in the prevailing circumstances to ensure I am an advantage point to be able, at one point or the other, achieve my dream. That dream will never go. Let me tell you that. That dream will never go.
All right.
So anything he is doing must be driven by that dream.
Okay. Let me ask Mohamed Roman Suri again. Looking at all what's been submitted here about the alliance, reasons for the formation, even though the two gentlemen have highlighted, I mean, the reasons read out in the documents, I mean, why they are forming the alliance. But it appears that there is more to it.
Well, I wouldn't know what more to it there is. Because, I mean, they actually read the objectives of the alliance, you know, to the full hearing of everybody in attendance, right? And there were no jaw-breaking terminologies, there were no high-voltage English, right? I mean, to recap some of the key things, I mean, there is the desire to jointly work together on President Bill's re-election campaign so that there will be no runoff. There is also, like Reverend mentioned, they will continue to maintain their individual identities. If they wish to go for other positions, they could go for them. And there's also the commitment that upon winning, His Excellency will work with them in various capacities, the NGC members in various capacities. Because, like he said in local parlance, they put Oni, pantap Oni for make a sweet more. You just make a for like boku. The SLPP already has good numbers, but we need more people. This country is far bigger than the two of them. He spoke effusively about balkanization of talents in the SLPP, and the APC, and the NGC, and these are the potentials he wants to bring together so that we can all deal with this big elephant in the room called Sierra Leone's huge development challenges, right? I've also had other questions. You mentioned, why did he choose to ally with the SLPP instead of other political parties? He did say it. I listened with a lot of interest, keen interest too. He mentioned, apart from the fact that, he has deep roots in the SLPP from the forefathers, and he himself has had some stints here. He mentioned that he wants to work with a party that is decorous, a party that is decorous. They railed against Mamikos, they called to disrupt governments every inch of the way. Speaker after speaker, from their women's leader to other speakers. So that is why the APC was the road not taken. They wanted to work in a civil environment where people are free to express their views, where there is decorum, where there is no mamikos, where people have respect for law and order, right? He also mentioned that one of the reasons when the NGC campaigned, they mentioned they wanted to empower women. Remember that? The Omnibus Bill? He mentioned it. Already, President Bill is miles ahead. He's enacted the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Bill. That is one of the things NGC wanted. It was in their manifesto. So President Bill is really been doing some of the things they also aspire to do as a political party. Repealing the 1965 criminal libel law, abolishing the death penalty, the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Law, among several other frame-breaking reforms. This man has done it. So, to his credit, they say they will join him to ensure that they continue to push the boundaries of progress, deliver more development to our people, and ensure that all of this is predicated on peace and stability, which are fundamental bedrocks, for delivering development. So,
quickly, would the NGC fielding candidates for other positions be, at the parliamentary or local levels?
So the commitment that was made is that the alliance will field only one presidential candidate, and that is His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio. They still remain individual political parties. They are free to choose what they want to do with the other levels, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When the leader of the Sierra Leone People's Party, President Julius Maada Bio, mentioned that, you find parliamentary leader, come now, can't look at work for Salona, can't join me now. In what context? Because Dr. Yumkella, being a member of parliament, in fact, a leader of his party in parliament, gives him leeway and more corridors for him to contribute to national development.
I don't know about that. I haven't been a parliamentarian before, so that probably does not put me in the best state to talk about it. But I've been in the executive for 5 years running now, right? So you can make, so I listened to a former Sierra Leonean politician. I used to be a very keen follower of that guy, the late Desmond Luke. He always said Sierra Leone's greatest problem is not the absence of laws. It is the failure of men, selfish and greedy men, right? So yes, you can make the laws, and the president did say it. You are a fine parliamentarian. You have your heart in the right place. You want to turn around the fortunes of your country. You want a new development trajectory for Sierra Leone. You have made all the laws, too many laws. Now join us, let us work on implementation, right? And this is not the first time he was saying it. During Candace's bereavement, when he lost his dear wife, a cross-section of cabinet ministers, including yours truly, accompanied His Excellency. In his tribute, he mentioned, he also challenged him. Said, look, Kande, even if this country were to be ceded to you, you will still not be able to do it alone. That is why we need an alliance of progressives, a coalition of progressives who will put their best foot forward to resolve Sierra Leone's development, problems. I have had questions. The Reverend has asked this question severally. As to, so this alliance was not formed with a gun to anybody's head. Both parties entered this alliance with both eyes open. Nobody pulled the wool over anybody's eyes. So, it's going to work in the best interest of all sides. It's going to work in the best interest of Sierra Leone. Because, the table, we are broadening the table.
It's going to be like a power sharing thing?
I don't know about power sharing. What was noted was that the NGC, once His Excellency wins re-election, like he's sure to win, inshallah, inshallah, once he wins, in appointments, they'll be considered for the various categories of appointments, from ministerial positions, deputy ministerial positions, diplomatic appointments, board memberships, heads of NGO, parastatals, and whatever. That was clearly spelled out.
Are you doing this?
It was clearly spelled out.
Are you doing this to get the president re-elected?
No,
this
so
alliance?
Well, the president did mention, I said it in Creole, I'm going to repeat it again.
Go ahead.
Even at the risk of being tautologous. When they only did now rubber, when they add more to ram, it not means na for less sweet more, na for less boku, right? So already, the no runoff campaign had been, launched, and it's energized from Falaba to Solima to Kailaun to everywhere. People are looking forward to re-electing the president on the first ballot. So the NGC joining the alliance with His Excellency makes it a lot more easier, right?
Just before we take the statement of the leader of the SLPP, Valnora, let me ask this question. I just wanted to get that thought from the minister here. But Albert George Sharif asked Dr. Yumkella earlier, before the program even commenced, whether or not is in the alliance for the SLPP to win. And in his statement, he was sure the SLPP was going to win. Perhaps him forming the alliance now with the SLPP would just be, a landslide for the SLPP. So with or without him, it appears that the SLPP was going to win the elections come June 24th, Valnora. What does that bring?
But I think beyond the issue of winning, which probably the voters will have to decide on that. I think, like I mentioned in the first question you asked, it doesn't mean the votes that the NGC secured in the last elections will be the same number or the same percentage that they're bringing to.
That is 6.86% in 2018.
Yes, and it doesn't also necessarily mean that the same percentage, the voters will have to decide. You're asking whether or not with NGC, the SLPP could still win the elections. We cannot tell until the voters decide what needs to happen. Those who are the supporters and the ones who need to convince and in the campaign would definitely be stating, yes, we're going to win the elections, but we cannot tell until the votes are counted to know who would win the elections. So what could NGC bring to the table is probably what we should be discussing in terms of probably winning before we even get beyond the elections itself. And that would be, again, not coming in with the percentage it had, but maybe it could convince others that with him in the alliance, he might be able to influence a few things. He might have to broaden the base, and maybe some would think that they still have some confidence and interest in somebody like Yumkella having the presidency, so helping him to accomplish that dream in the future. So it's still unclear how that is going to play out.
All right. Stay there with us. Let's go back to Bintu Mani, where the leader of the Sierra Leone People's Party, who doubles as the president of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Maada Bio. And let's take his statement, and we will be right back.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's sit down. The Honorable Vice President, Madam First Lady, Honorable Chief Minister, another minister is present here today. All the party executives, senior executives, both the NDC and the Sierra Leone People's Party, all the protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is good to always have a good blend. And today I appreciated that more than any other time. Mr. Grant was here to speak, and he said, what actually forms the basis or the genesis of why we are here today? Earlier when I met you in Kitchum, I had not made up my mind to speak to you about coming together. But you know, as we sat there was a huge wire wave just about the time you were about to speak. And I said to myself, this is his dad telling us, I'm not happy that you are not together. And without reference to anybody, I called for a green cup, which I know will please his dad. And I put some cola in there. And everybody was wondering, why is he putting cola nuts in the green cup? It was at that point that I decided I was going to give it to him to extend a hand of friendship, which has materialized today in an alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a good alliance. This is a noble alliance. It is a homecoming for some of us. When I look at everybody, I spoke to the elders of the NDC the last time. Nobody there was a stranger to me. Old friends, people we have politically fought with, which is okay. And today we are back together. Maybe one day we will fuse and be one people, one country. If you put Salon first, our Salon will better. And also, that is what we have done today. I can be president and can win the next election. He can be the leader of his party and whatever he wants to be. But there is something bigger than the two of us, and all of us seated here. That is Sierra Leone, the land that we love. If we are not hypocritical to this statement that we make every day, the land that we love, we must express and manifest that love. Today is a manifestation of our commitment to develop this country, of our desire to come together and to make Sierra Leone a better place. In 1951, our founding fathers built the SFPP upon the foundation of great aspiration, one country, one people. They combined the largeness of the vision with the largeness of the heart. That is the beauty. They built a party that will provide a broad umbrella for every Sierra Leonean, not not just NDC. And that is why we extend our hands to even those in the APC who want to progress. Ladies and gentlemen, our founding fathers never hesitated to build alliances, so I have not hesitated anything. I know I have their support. They frequently extol the virtues of national unity or of a unified front. It was that which brought our meeting together. Chief Bashar Matas, Chief Shebura Yumkella, Lamina Sanko, Kande Bure, Mohammed Sanusi, Mustafa, and several others from the south to ask to come together to make this country and to build this nation, the new nation. 72 years on, today we seek to reaffirm our faith in the founding aspiration of our party and continue the tradition of our founding fathers as we formalize the progressive alliance between the Sierra Leone People's Party and the National Grand Alliance for the coalition for the June 24th multi-tier election. We not come together no more for win this election. Kande and I have been talking, and as he has explained, I've always said to him, Kande, I know you have big ideas, but I don't want you to die with those ideas. You need a platform. And for me, I said to him, you are a great member of parliament, but you can be a better person in this country because we don't want to confine your expertise, network, and know-how to parliament alone. You have to come. Today, as we sign this alliance, I want to express my gratitude for the commitment and dedication of our two parties in coming together for the greater good of our nation. Now, we don't put Salon first. That means we don't put your own efforts there aside. And that is the same I will say to the SLPP. People in the wonder, oh, then they can't take everything. I said, no. But can I do it alone? No. So I need more good people. As we approach the second term, which with your support, I hope to win, and I'm confident to win. We should be talking about how we are going to accelerate our rate of delivery. We had the Honorable Vice President recount the many things we have done, for which we have gained international reputation. But that is not enough. Our people are still suffering. Things are hard. We can be recognized for education around the world, which is no mean feat. But we are lagging behind by so far behind. Now, like where you left them sprint race. The man don't grab, you don't go near the 20 meter. When you grab, you get for me, they play for each other. That is where we are. We have wasted our time and we need to catch up with the rest of the world. And because of the nature of domestic politics in this country, we have organized our expertise and the good people we have. One group will go sit on an NDC, the other group will sit on an SFPP, the other group will do APC, the other group then go sit on C4C, the other group, and we know they talk. We know they give you transfer ideas, choose ideas for Mama Salon. This is what we have done today. I said to him severally, as a candidate, stop this talking. Let's come and do it. Bring your ideas. Let's debate them as long as possible. We arrive at the decision. So I recognize you. I know how hard you work, and I know you have a lot of good people, and I encourage none of them on the way they come back, maybe except with a few, Not in Australia to win SLPP. Very few, I think, for me, the normal Australia themselves. So we know we said all these federal effects, not to forbid for medicine the blow or the call the excellency and all the doctors. No. All these federal effects, I have my own plan. Well, I don't share with my party to develop this nation. He has his own plan. We have different pathways to deliver those plans and to make this country better. That is very different. So if Mama Salon, neither we concern, and if we put Mama Salon first, and one for make me better, then we step for come together. This is what we are doing today. I'm pleased to know that for the past several months, both leadership of the SLPP and the NDC have engaged in extensive discussions rooted in the desire to form an alliance that is strategic and transparent. As leaders, we are guided by a larger purpose than our individual ambitions. We resolved to work together towards transformative and inclusive development in Sierra Leone, believing that by joining forces, we can achieve greater impact and create more positive changes for our beloved nation. So all this grammar we talk, we really don't put into practice within the desire we have. And Dr. Kanda Yumkella is a totally different man today than the one I knew. Oh yes, I will tell you. Adam Sabine Kanda over 25 years ago. He has learned, and it is his desire to really want to contribute, and my desire to take whatever we can put together. After another 5 years, I may not be here, standing in this podium. So I have a limited time to deliver. But how far this one I will be winner? That is so. Especially when NDC don't come. United we stand, we touch one, so not touch Mother Leone. Ladies and gentlemen, in the world full of conflicts and divisiveness, we understand the importance of national cohesion. Our respect for political, social, religious diversity is what makes us a great nation. We believe that our diversity should be our strength and not our weakness. You know, I go pray in a hill station this last Ramadan, and I see a beautiful crowd. Then I decide when I say for talk. I said we already know that different parties they will come out, but today we can cooperate to God. Look how we quiet. Nobody know the cost. Nobody know they do anything for what they company. I said, my rally today, ABC and the SFP blow me now. Some man go in the hospital right now. Some man in the police. And some man go the cost them bad cost. I'm happy you do not subscribe to Manicos. And we good people in this country, everybody. By a woman. You have a sister, you have a daughter. If you big man, you hide behind your finger and they support that boy, where is Doyana, in the cost of kind cost, where you know, they give it the yes, and they make you deaf. You are not worthy to be the true or to be a leader in this country. That one day when they get young and they push them one day to go cost. Waiting at cost. You have enough ideas. Tell me what I'm doing is not wrong. Present alternatives. And we, like he said, we will debate until we get to the answer. But not cost. Them big one day, where they inside this country, where they support and know and finance the one that will cost. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm somebody of faith, and You will see how some people get for end. Just a natural call. We the cost woman then. Big people then will not get nothing for doing to you except that to have a divergence of opinion. You cost them. You know, those people will not go free. It's not possible. It's not possible. Will not watch. So, given a good people there, we get to disarm them when they are. We for sure say we not like this and not to this we want in this country. The democracy we want to be the best democracy in the world. Let's argue as long as we can. That is not the modus operandi for certain people. In fact, they don't have ideas. So the only thing is to throw you off balance by the student, they're not even going to make us cost. And yet, I will never do it, and I will not tell you, nobody, not for engaging amigos. Let's talk about ideas how to develop Sierra Leone. Let's look at the paradigms, shifting paradigms, which one best for we. Distinguished guests, I want to say inclusive government is at the heart of this alliance. Every Sierra Leonean, regardless of background, ethnicity, or political affiliation, must have a voice in the decision-making process of our nation. Through this alliance, we aim to foster unity, tolerance, and understanding among all Sierra Leoneans, and promote a sense of pride and identity that transcends political differences. We are beginning to be recognized internationally, not for invectives, but when we come together and decide to work, we can do great things. And we tell you for a fact, we are a good people with great talents. We have been divided, and a house divided against itself will never stand. 5 years on as president and leader of the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party, I'm proud of our remarkable achievements and the visible progress we have made. Over 1 million more new learners have access to education than 5 years ago. We have recruited over 12,000 teachers more than 5 years ago. We have constructed almost 200 health facilities more than 5 years ago. We have recruited over 5,000 health workers more than 5 years ago. Our infant and maternal mortality rates are far lower than 5 years ago. In fact, Mr. Vice President, the Director General of the WHO should be visiting us in addition to the good news that we have. And this, why? Because we have had a 60% jump. The WHO revealed that to us. These things are not happening from the air. These are policies, purposeful, intentionally crafted so that we get the end result here. They attract international, not of more cost for many area. So today, most Iranians have access to electricity nationwide, where the Vice President talked about. Most Iranians have access to water supply than 5 years ago. We have constructed more roads and bridges than 5 years ago. We have produced more metric tons of rice than 5 years ago. Mining communities receive more payment in the Community Development Agreement than 5 years ago. Tonkolini is a new place. When they give them money, they don't even know how to use the money. They expect 0.0001, and even that they didn't give them. Today, 3-4 weeks ago, we just give them 25 billion. And this week, Lausanne, get a euro. I think 35 million. Yes, this is the Sierra Leone People's Party. We are a people's party. That which does not belong to us should not stay in my pocket. For the first time in history, we are eligible to develop the MCC compact, which the Vice President alluded to. We have passed this scorecard for 4 consecutive years, as he said, and passed the control of corruption indicator for 5 consecutive years. We have repealed the 5-year-old seditious libel and criminal law, abolished the death penalty, enacted the Gender Equality in Women's Empowerment Act, which revitalized the 30% representation for women in government. So now they want to change and get their sex now to women. This is the best time for women in this country, not so. And the girls are even more hopeful. This year, we had more girls applying for engineering than at any other time in the history of the Fuve College, which is almost 200 years. Yes, because of intentional policy, inclusive, radical inclusion. If you get the lesson to go to school, no excuse. It's like when you born, you go back to school. All man for study, book, so we not get problem in future. Therefore, the alliance, forming this alliance with the NGC, is not only about coming together. There's a proverb in Nigeria which says that when you add money, panta money, not to for make it sweet, but for make it boku, and who boku, NGC very pleased to number. So then, with the formation of this alliance, we will continue to implement policies and programs that improve the lives of our citizens. That is a joint commitment. We will initiate transformative projects across sectors, create jobs, empower the women and youth, and ensure that no one is left behind. As we move forward, the SFPB and the NGC will work collaboratively, leveraging our collective strength, expertise and resources to achieve our shared goals. The signed agreement has set out the intent of this alliance, and as leaders of the Sierra Leone People's Party and the NDC, we commit to abide by and uphold the spirit of the agreement. Our core campaign messages will be the same, emphasizing the commitment of my administration to peace and national cohesion and inclusive development. Our nation has experienced its fair share of challenges. The decade-long civil war left deep scars and divisions among our people. As we move forward, peace and national cohesion will be fundamental pillars of our development agenda. As President of Sierra Leone, I am committed to peace and national cohesion. We cannot let politics or ethnic differences divide us any longer. So we are starting today. As an alliance, we will strive to create space for open and respectful discussion where all voices are heard and diverse perspectives are considered. We will work towards building bridges, mending relations, and healing the wounds of the past. You know, it was not the best. We're not going to be divorced. Scatter no more scatter. That's not clever. But you say, you get a heart attack what the hook is saying.
All right, that was President Julius Maada Bio, who doubles as the leader of the Sierra Leone People's Party, making a statement there at Bintumani, where he signed an agreement with Dr. Kandekole Yumkella of the National Grand Coalition. I still have in the studio Mohamed Gaman Soare and Gavin James Lahai, and on Zoom Valnoa Edwin. Unfortunately, Jesmed, the acting leader, the acting chair person of the National Grand Coalition, is yet to find his way in the studio. But Valnoa, let me quickly, you've listened to what the leader of the SLPP has said. He highlighted a couple of things and why this alliance is so strategic and why the alliance is needed for the betterment of Sierra Leone. He talks about inclusivity. We need to be included. And the leader of the National Grand Coalition also mentioned in his statement that Sierra Leone, the motto of the two political parties is like two brothers. He said, one country, one people for the SLPP, and united we stand united. So it's all about unity. So, I mean, it appears there's this shared vision between the two leaders there, especially with the statement. But what do you make of what the leader of the SLPP has just pointed out in terms of why this alliance is so strategic at this point?
I think as you've outlined, there is a history where the father of Honorable Yumkella has been one of the founding fathers of the SLPP. And again, when we started the conversation, I said it's almost like it's more or less a back to this. So even though they might have their individual identity, but you can see that most members or the executive members of the NGC were former SLPP members. So it's actually more or less going back to base in this form. So definitely there is a history for a good number of those who are in the NGC and who are leading or have negotiated this form of alliance. There's certainly some level of shared values and goals that both political parties have in common. And maybe naturally there's a conversation or the context and the environment has been created for them to have that discussion. They can see that they can identify with each other. And I see the leader of the SLPP even made mention of it wasn't a divorce, but they just had a squabble. I think one thing we need to establish, there's nothing wrong with political parties forming an alliance. We have highlighted over the years, over history, where there have been various forms of alliances. Just that based on the recent history, you see what the PMDC, for example, they might still exist, but how strategic are they? And I think that's just the concern that a lot of Sierra Leoneans do have, especially those who can see maybe we need a third force that can be a power broker between the APC and the SLPP. But there's a lot of convincing issues. There are a lot of positives that have been highlighted by both leaders of the political party on why this alliance will be helpful for their individual political parties as well as for the nation. The emphasis on peace and national cohesion, the emphasis on helping to create a developmental agenda. They see some of the issues in the NGC and in the SLPP, and I will clearly say even within the three political parties, when you read their manifestos, they are actually articulating more or less the same thing. They might prioritize things differently, but they're actually articulating the same thing. So it seems all good at this point in time. The conversation seems healthy. We have seen alliances before, and I'll just keep on to emphasize to say we want to see how this will unfold, not only for them, but for Sierra Leone in general. Especially as we're in a context where we see a lot of hostility, the issues of the social media audios, the sort of videos we're having, and there's a lot of tension. It's something we cannot shy away from, that's the fact. And if political parties are coming together and preaching peace and articulating how, because that is what should be the conversation now. What could be the difference? Even for the incumbents, we need to be hearing what is going to be done that would be different. What could be the added value to be given a second mandate? And for those coming, other political parties, What are you going to do differently? What are the responses to the economic situation, to the power supply, to all those things that we're clamoring for? So it's good that in this alliance meeting, these issues are currently being articulated, and we hope that going forward, we want to see a bit more of it, because that's the sort of national conversation which we should be having, and we limit these hate speeches and these threats and the sort of hostility that we are seeing among each other. Elections come and go. The most important thing is we need to develop our country. Sierra Leone needs to stand as the nation that it's supposed to be. And I was in a meeting recently, and I've said, we need to stop even going back to that history to say 23 or more years ago, we had a conflict, an 11-year conflict, etc. Now the narrative should be, we have had 4 successful multi-party elections, and we are moving on a developmental trajectory. That should be the history, that should be the narrative that we should be pushing forward. So these conversations coming from the 2 political party leaders seem to be healthy. We hope they maintain them. And as we are getting closer to the elections, we want to hear a bit more about what are those issues that we want, that voters need to be convinced about to be able to make a decision as to who could lead this nation for the next 5 years.
If we go back to 2018, the NGC had an agenda in its manifesto. There were very good initiatives, very good plans, but they were also almost not different from the things in the SLPP's manifesto or the APC. So whilst the SLPP pushed for free, on education, for example, whilst the SLPP pushed for free quality education, the NGC was campaigning on overhauling the entire education system and putting away. So there were similarities in all of these things. And now we're seeing where the political parties are forming committees to craft their different manifestos. Do you think this is timely, looking at Kade, who's been very vocal over the last 5 years about economic issues, going to the market, bringing prices of basic commodities, and talking at the global stage how the country's economy should be run and all of that? Do you think this is a unique situation where perhaps those of his ideas would now be taken on board by the SLPP in this alliance?
Well, like I've stated, that's the test. And that's where we need to see what sort of influence would he wield within this alliance. How effective some of his or his political party's issues that he's been articulating whilst contesting in 2018 as a member of parliament, how much influence is going to have to see some of this reflected in this alliance. For the presidential candidate, the minister has stated that there will be a single candidate, but the political parties will continue to operate independently for the other fields. So we'd like to see, there might be 2 separate manifestos, and if they're forming an alliance, how that would unfold, or whether they're going to do a single manifesto. But as we've articulated here, the manifestos of the political parties are usually not at variance. They actually are stating the same issues. They might have emphasis on what could be a priority, perhaps, and slight variations of what, like you were saying, the educational system should look like. But if you look at it from a strategic level, they are all more or less saying the same thing. So it shouldn't be difficult for them to sort of will their thoughts together in the document. Where we usually have a problem for those of us who do the analysis is usually in the implementation, but we're not at that point yet. So we cannot get to that to discuss how that would flow. But we are hopeful that, as I've said, in the conversation about the elections, in the campaign, some of the things that we want to hear, we will hear them from both of them reinforcing, especially the issue around peace and national cohesion. And peace and national cohesion is not just saying, let's have peace. It's about the daily governance issues, about how the justice system operates, the economy, how do people feel inclusive, how do they feel as if they matter. It's about how the police operates. It's about the freedom, the human rights. It's about respecting the rule of law. It's about also citizens being responsible. These are the daily governance issues that bring peace and social cohesion. So we'd like to see in the campaigns, how both political parties can articulate that, and we want to see whether there could be a common agenda. That could be a basis on which voters could decide that this alliance seems healthy and that they could vote for these political parties.
All right. Reverend, let me draw back to the Alassane and Alusine phrase. I don't know if na SFP na the Alassane or the Alusine, but I would have loved Dr. Yumkella to have answered this. I mean, this has been putting it, these two parties have always been in existence. I mean, they are the same. But now he wanted to change, to make a change, but that did not happen. And he now, from what we've seen, he has to be in one of related to either Alassane or Alusine to make that change, and he has chosen one of them. And and with that choice of his, he also spoke about the level of polarization along regional lines, and he is saying, well, for him, it makes a perfect fit from the north, and the leader of the SLPP coming from the south. How do we make use that as a message to heal the political divide in this country?
In responding to that question, I would want to draw attention to the fact that we have had missed opportunities.
How?
In the past to respond to the concerns that we have raised. In 1996, we are almost going to get a fresh political party taking the stage. That was the UNPP. UNPP had to go into runoff with SLPP. But then, after that election, the leadership of that party did not continue. And so the power, the strength, the push that would have ensured that the dominance of these two political parties is put in check had to wane. And then in 2007, we also got the PMDC, which came and was right across the country. They breached tribal lines, regional lines, and then it was like these ones are actually coming to make the difference. And then again, the leadership did not sustain that vigor to ensure that the monopoly these two political parties are having over the country is put in check. This might be another strategy that is being used by Yumkella and the NGC. By making sure that we do not put a direct fight, but let's see how we can put our efforts together. And by that means, we can also have our ideas coming into play in the governance platform. That's a clever way also of making sure that minority interest, third-party voice and agenda is also finding its way into the governance of the country. And so we hope and pray that it will not all be for selfish reasons, but it will be to work towards ensuring that the ethnic sentiment is neutralized, and if NGC has a stronghold on Cambia district, that issue of tribe may not be coming into play too much. And I want to tell you that this example that the NGC have set might be opening.
Do you think the clout of the NGC in the 2018 elections that got the party to secure 6.86% in the total vote, do you think that's a block is readily available for the NGC?
I do not have any reason to think otherwise because the party leadership has not got itself into any major mess that should undermine that strength that they had.
Resignations have taken place.
Except for the fact. But then, the resignations have taken place, but the party did not crumble. The party has remained. And the party is still strong enough to have satisfied the PPRC's set criteria for them to be amongst the political parties qualified to go
to contest.
Yes, to go into the election.
All right. Let me listen quickly from the minister. At the end of it all, when it comes to this shared commitment that the two parties and the two leaders have talked about, how do we get to see its implementation?
Okay, so let me just say this in passing.
Go ahead.
So His Excellency did say we seem to be narrowing down this alliance to the elections, to winning the next elections. He was clear and categorical that this alliance, this progressive alliance, is not about winning the next elections. This is about the next generation. Because if you have peace, stability, you address the ethno-regional issues, you have big dreams to implement so that the myriad of unemployed youth are able to get an opportunity to realize their potentials. Over last year alone, courtesy of NCRA figures, he had over 250 babies born in Sierra Leone. So those babies will need to be catered for. We have a free quality education system here. So governments are about big thinking, right? So this alliance, I mean, it's been named as looking for the next generation, not just for the next elections. We have also said, so this alliance, like we've all agreed, has been brought together by a common convergence to address the ethno-regional challenges we face in our body politic, to broaden the table, and to make sure that we collectively address the perennial challenges that face us as a country, as a united front. Like you remember when I mentioned on the eve of independence, we had to build a coalition of the willing to be able to confront the challenges of independence. And that's how, so at every point, there are challenges and you talk about these things. And what I begin to sense here, right up in issue, is the sincerity of purpose. Dr. Yumkella today, right on the platform did say, I mean, dishonest politicians are part of the problem in the country. He says everybody knows the economic challenges are not unique to Sierra Leone. In Ghana, for example, last week, the inflation was around 25%. In Bangladesh, what was it? In other countries, the sub-Saharan average is around 25 to 30%. Sierra Leone is around 19%, but dishonest politicians still make people believe, right, that this is the worst case scenario we have, in spite of the several palliatives government has been injecting in the system. You are aware of the direct cash transfers. You are aware of direct cash transfers to market women, to people living with disabilities. You are aware of the 3-month intervention government did for those working in the service sector. You are aware of many other things that government has done. But dishonest politicians don't talk about that. They simply want to torpedo the state because they are not in government. So Dr. Yumkella spoke about all of that. So you see sincerity. So in coming days and weeks, the alliance document also spoke about joint committees. We will have to get a joint spokesperson, for the alliance, right? You have to have joint committees for manifesto and for other things, just so that everybody, feels a part of the action, right? So I will not be surprised in coming days to see Dr. Yumkella sharing the same platform with His Excellency when he goes on his tanky tours, even before the campaign is officially declared open. Right. So there are many, many things happening right now. And for us, this is an opportunity to heal Sierra Leone, the scars, the wounds, and, to open a new chapter.
Let me run through a few messages on Facebook. Unfortunately, I will not be able to take all of your messages, and I would have to skip through and take those that speak to the issues being raised here tonight. Bashir Loksin is saying, I want SLPP and APC to stop and make corrections of their statements that Honorable Dr. Kande Kole Yumkella had returned to his roots and the NGC as a whole had returned to SLPP. It is an alliance, not because majority of the members came from the SLPP, but an alliance for a better Sierra Leone. So those statements by SLPP and APC are misleading. Mohammed Kalon is saying, okay, that is too harsh. I'm sorry, I can't go through. What is the importance and the role of the alliance to Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans? Faya Musa is asking there. If this government don't do well, they don't need KKY. Lansana Jane is saying, why this alliance should, okay, that's not too clear. Omar Bai is saying, I'm afraid this alliance would just give advantage to APC rather than SLPP for the simple reason that 80% of NGC voters in 2018 were APCians and from APC strongholds. There were 0 votes for NGC from the East and the South. That's from Omar Kokaje saying, if SLPP is victorious June 24th, they will give the NGC guys political appointment, and after a year, they will be sacked. Okay. If President Bio has done good, there is no need for him to form an alliance with another political party. Molai Kebe is saying, so many messages. Ronald is saying, like I've always said, only a coalition government, which comprises more than even 2 parties, can have a fair chance of making a better Sierra Leone. I hope that this is the beginning of a progressive coalition, because we've seen alliances before but never materialized because of successive governments' arrogant attitudes. This is an opportunity for smaller parties to play a vital role in shaping Sierra Leone rather than one dominant party that has not brought anything to the table for the vast majority of Sierra Leoneans in nearly 62 years. Zainab Thula is saying, we trusted you with the vision of Salon Force. Down the lines, you become a party to the problem. Many of us who do not believe in the ideology of the APC and the SLPP were now left between the devil and the deep sea. Interesting messages. Mohammed Kuruma is saying, I'm going to take at most 5 more messages quickly because of time. Mohammed Kuruma is saying, the KKY who criticized Alassane and Alusain today is with Alusain. Oh, Salon, Mr. Minister, you said President Bio conducted a free, fair election in 1996. I don't think so, because even Mr. President told us that SLPP does not win that election. He told us that he wore a different green at the time. So, was why SLPP won. Wonderman T saying, this is a progressive alliance to hasten our national retrogressive trajectory. All this done for their own interest and not national interests. This government just have to let the people, okay, that's not so clear. KKY spoke about it, that the 2023 will be an alliance election, but we never knew it would be from this angle. I know one thing for sure, KKY is a smart fellow and he knows what he is doing. That's from Ishmael Kamara. 2 more messages to go. So many messages. Unfortunately, I have to also skip. KKY has totally disappointed the youth of Sierra Leone and he misled during the 2018 elections. That's from Mohammed Tui. Jacobs Jr. is in, okay, I'm not going to go through that one. That's to George Orwell is saying, KKY in 2018, your running mate was from the Southeast and they never voted you in. You never got a single seat from their vote. If you think by going back to SLPP, those Northwest votes will follow you to such an abysmal, okay. I have to hold the messages there. I have hundreds of them. Unfortunately, time will not permit me to go through all of them. So Valnora, as we try to round off the conversation here tonight, what are the expectations at this point that this alliance should meet? We've talked about, as the 2 leaders have highlighted, the issue of inclusivity, the issue of coming together with, like minds to ensure that development is at the heart, and the ideas of both men and the ideologies of both parties should be able to transform Sierra Leone. Are these expectations, are they visible to be seen, if at all President Bio got re-elected?
I think at this point in time, what the alliance needs to do is firstly to sort of convince, especially on the angle of KKY, to convince those that had needed, like I've stated, a 3-horse race, that had pitched their tents with the NGC just to try something new, just to try something different. So there needs to be a lot of convincing on how do you get them on board to see the value of having this sort of alliance. And then you have the conversation of those who think, yes, it's good, but going beyond the elections, what could happen? Because we have seen how alliances have been established, and over time they have disappeared. Nothing positive has emerged from that, or else by now we should have a stronger third force. For any political party that would win this election, I think what is the most important thing is about how to improve on the governance. So whether it's this alliance, whether it's all the other political parties who will be contesting the presidential election, because that's where the focus is usually on the presidential candidates. It's all about how do you build Sierra Leone, taking it away from some of these negatives that we usually emphasize, that the things that bind us are stronger than the things that are dividing us. So we don't say one thing, we list down all these positives, but then on the side or in the things we do, it's completely different, and it's creating more polarization than any of us would like to see. So going forward, whether this alliance, whether all the political parties, we want to see how we really bring Sierra Leone together, how we ensure, whether it's global or national, we improve on our economic developmental trajectory, how the justice system, feeling that, again, the issue of inclusivity and participation, and how we ensure that as citizens, we know that we have a stake in the governance architecture, be law-abiding, and ensure that where there are grievances, we have a better way of having it channel than some of the things that we see happening. So that's the key emphasis, and I think that's how most of us would like to see this conversation proceed.
All right. Thank you very much, Valnora. It's been a pleasure having you here with us in the show. Quickly, Reverend. So how should the tracks be laid now for this alliance to progress?
Firstly, I would say I personally consider this to be positive, that this is a positive sign. We have all been talking about the disadvantage of a winner takes all. And so if alliances are now being formed, which means the winner will now be having consideration for other interests. And so there are shared interests. And I want the public to know that a decision of this nature requires a strong heart and somebody who is very bold. Mind you, with this alliance, definitely ministerial positions and other appointments will be going to the NGC. And strong people in the SLPP holding those positions might be feeling jittery. So for a decision of this nature to be taken, you have to be strong. But I think this is moving in the right direction, so that we start thinking of just ourselves and begin to think how we can spread out, so that people do not become aggrieved because they think they have no place. I would really wish other political parties to start thinking. And I admire Yumkella for taking this kind of initiative. Mind you, he got 86% in the last election.
Right.
And he has decided to step down. He has decided to cut down on his ambition. We have other people who have 0.00 something in that election. They are still going to run for the elections. You've not seen anything they did in this past 5 years to let you think that, oh, they have attracted attention, but they still want to go and contest. And so it's like...
That's what democracy is saying.
I agree. That's what democracy is saying. but also democracy has a space for the people.
All right.
It is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If you stand and you don't get any votes, but you still want to stand, you are outside the democracy definition. You see?
So, thank you.
I only hope and pray that this might lead to a new narrative.
All right.
And maybe the country will stand to win at the end of the day instead of individuals.
Thank you, Reverend James Lai. Quickly, Mr. Minister.
Yeah, well, so James is spot on. I mean, this alliance is not about the next elections. It is about the next generation. So I hear some of those texts you read or you read loudly and clearly.
Right.
For example, Zainab is concerned. They are the trusted KKY. He is abandoned there now, so they are concerned as to where to go. Zainab will hear you. Your concerns are noted. But we want to ensure that this progressive alliance works for every Sierra Leonean. That is why it is not about the next election. This country has serious challenges. You know, like His Excellency noted, while we are busy fighting an 11 years old civil war, other countries in the region were moving on. They did not have to wait for us. So we have a huge development deficit. You have a leadership who is...
Motik. This one is for the bold ones. The people who shape their world.
That is why His Excellency, in the next inning, wants to address stomach infrastructure so that people could have something to eat, who want to come in that big while consolidating the gains of education we have made. We want to embark on digitalization in a big way. Watch out for the manifesto. But already you are aware, because of the commitments we have shown, we are having a $50 million grant for digital transformation. That is going to upskill young people, train entrepreneurs, so that for those who cannot get jobs in the labor market, they can become entrepreneurs, they can become employers of other people. So there is hope ahead. And more importantly, we want to assure everybody that this is being a big sacrifice on the side of all. What a couple of things have been clearly brought out that citizens need to know about. President Bio's humility has been demonstrated here. You remember in Kitchum? Yes, he literally went, wooing Dr. Yumkella. After that, he has been on a charm offensive. A lot of things have happened behind the scene. Both parties consider that in public. And this is simply because he needs him to be able to begin the long journey of bridging the ethno-regional divide, broadening the table, more inclusive arrangement, and ensuring that this serves as an illumination for the rest of young people that you can disagree on principles without being disagreeable, right? I mean, so this alliance is here to stay. It is not about anybody seeking jobs, even though jobs will become part of the consequence. And I want to talk to other Sierra Leoneans that this journey to mend the cracks and crevices in our country should be supported by all and sundry.
Thank you.
Mamikos should have no place in the politics going forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Muhammad Rahman Swari, thank you very much. Reverend James Lahai and Valnora Edwin. We apologize for the absence of Jesmed Suma, the acting chair of the National Grand Coalition. He said he had an emergency he needed to attend to, so he went there to attend to that emergency. So many thanks to all of you who've been part of the show, those of you who watched us on Channel 33, on DSTV Channel 399, those of you who listened to us on FM 101.7, and those of you who followed us on different social media. And it's been a pleasure, and we've enjoyed the privilege of your time tonight. Thank you very much. My name is Samuel Weisbango. The show has been AYV on Sunday, and up next is our AYV Primetime News. Until then, take care of yourself and have a lovely night. APC and SLPP.
There are no protests in all other parts of the
Following the violent protests on
oh yeah, talking point platform, TTP-TV. Oh yeah, Unale we pledge, we love and loyalty to we sweet, sweet mama salute. Now we all come together as one for tomorrow. Now we go make salute.